Welcome to Business Nigeria. I am Yemisi Lanre Ido. Well, it's no longer news that Etisalat Nigeria's international partners have terminated a management agreement over the Nigerian firm's inability to pay back its more than $500 million loan from the $1.2 billion loan taken from the 13 local banks. Chief Executive Officer Etisalat International, Hatem Dawida, said the exit will begin in 3 weeks' time. Secretary, Association of Telecoms Companies of Nigeria, Ajibola Olude, speaks on the issue.
For me, the crisis that Etisalat is going through may be repeat in other telecommunication companies. And the reason is that they all have loans, which is dominated in dollars and pounds. And but this loan was taken when the exchange rate was favorable. But today the exchange rate is not favorable, right? These guys have to pay double, you know. And it's not that they are charging the subscriber twice of what they are charging them when they took the loan.
Well, the latest on the issue now is that the Nigerian unit may have commenced internal arrangements to be able to raise fresh funds for operations. Its Chief Executive Officer, Boye Olusoya, indicates that the company will go back to business and refocus on making profits. Olusoya, a former Airtel Nigeria executive, was appointed the CEO of Etisalat Nigeria last week, just as a new chairman was brought into the company. It said the negotiation was ongoing with international directors of Etisalat regarding the brand name of the company. He also noted that the technical service agreement with the international arm covered the brand name, while Nigerians were to run the telecoms company. Well, let's discuss this latest, and joining me to look at the economic implications and, of course, the IT area is an economist, Professor Ken Ife. He joins me on phone from Enugu. Many thanks for your time, Professor.
Oh, thank you very much.
Also joining me via Skype is a software consultant, Ido Wakinde. Thank you, Ido. Yes, let me begin with you, Ido. Just before we go into the economic implications. Yes, as part of this restructuring effort, and in order to keep its 20 million subscribers afloat, Etisalat has just about 3 weeks to change its domain name. Tell us more about this area. Don't you think changing a domain name would affect even the subscribers they are trying to keep?
Thank you. But in a nutshell, in terms of the brand, because Etisalat a brand which is a strong brand, it shouldn't the what it would take to inform customers of a change in name, change in logo, change in message, change in slogan shouldn't cost them too much, because they already have some degree of mind share. For instance, also the fact that they are public in the know of all these things, we've all been following this story. So in a sense, everybody will pretty much know that Etisalat is now XYZ, you know, just like Airtel today used to be Zain, used to be Vodafone, it used to be Spain, Vodafone, you know, many names. So I don't think that will really impact much. But where they have a lot of work to do is to implement IT structures, for instance, their web presence and other IT aspects.
Well, Ido, I'm finding it a bit difficult to hear you, but of course we'll get it better as we go on in the course of the program. But let me talk to Professor now. Professor, Etisalat is the 4th largest internet operator in Nigeria. Now, with this pullout of the international arm from that business, tell us, what's the economic implication to the country, and especially talking about the GDP?
Yeah, there are enormous economic implications. If one, Etisalat Nigeria
fails to restructure the loan, or if it fails to find a buyer to do a takeover. If both schemes fail, which I'll be very, very surprised they will, because if you look at the just around $500 million left, the fact the license alone was about $284 million. So it's no big deal. The infrastructure they have, the telecom infrastructure around the country, it is going to be a hell of a lot of money compared to what is on the table. So I didn't think that they would have difficulty in finding a buyer. But of course, whoever wants to buy would have to wait for things to come to a head. And now that the seller has pulled back, then the coast is clear for the likes of Vodafone and whoever else, or a consortium of buyers to come in and make the offer. But if that fails, then we're going to brace up for a huge impact. Because, first of all, there are issues about the subscriber base, which my colleague is trying to unpack. But that notwithstanding, hello?
Yes, go ahead, Professor.
Yes. And that notwithstanding, there will be job losses and some form of economic hardship. However you go, even if there's somebody else that takes it over, they would have to rationalize. So some staff would inevitably have to go. And even the supply chain, there will be contraction in the supply chain, because whoever is taking them over would have their own technical and engineering services providers. They will have their suppliers. They will have their retailers. They will have their broadband service providers, value-added service providers. So there would be some form of rationalization that will take place. Then, of course, there potentially a shock for banking sector. If nothing good comes out of it, it joins the non-performing loans and cause more financial system instability, which the CBN will be very, very worried about. And then, of course, there is also potential loss of revenue to the government if this doesn't go ahead and they have to close shop. And generally speaking, there will be loss of confidence and credibility to international lenders that have been lending this money.
That was what I was actually even going to talk about, Professor. Yes, because it seemed easy for the international arm to pull out of that agreement. Is it that with what the government is doing, do you think that level of confidence isn't there for the international arm, or what do you think could have happened?
No, the thing is, there are fiduciary issues and moral issues, because this loan was taken in 2005, and they should have done currency risk analysis, and they would have insured themselves or hedged themselves against currency risk, because at the 2015, they are experiencing the turmoil in the economy. So to think that they will plead that they didn't know things will get out of hand is very, very unfair. There will be issues there. It's not going to end here.
All right, let me talk to Idowu on Skype now. Idowu, yes, it takes the international arm, although I didn't hear you clearly when I talked to you earlier, but the international arm has given them 3 weeks to change their domain name. Now, tell us as an expert, IT expert, what does it take, or how long does it take to actually change a domain name, if at all?
Okay. Okay, so technically and specifically, changing a domain name doesn't take up to 3 weeks. Worst case scenario, 48 to 72. Worst case scenario, 72 hours is a big enough window of time for anyone to change, for anyone to register and propagate a new domain name. The work that Etisalat has in front of them is not really in registering a new domain name. For instance, they may decide to go oetoniger.com. They may decide to go by any name. I mean, whatever that new name is, registering it on the internet is not a problem. The real problem is converting the digital assets that they have already on the old brand, on the old universal brand. From websites to other brand collateral, business cards, plans, and all the like. Converting all of those things to the new name. That's what it works. So say, for instance, they have, say, maybe 100 megabytes of pages on their website today currently. They have it in front of them. Is to gain all occurrence.
Yes, we're still having that issue with the audio with Idowu on Sky. But Professor, let me come back to you now. Yeah, some quarters are already talking about, or they're speculating that there might be a total buyover or a merger. And the Nigerian unit that's talking about the EMTS is seem not faced by what's happening, and is talking about arrangements to raise fresh funds for the operations. But we still have that debt unpaid. Now, who pays that debt?
Well, it's not a big deal to refinance the debt. It's not a big deal. But you know, whoever is going to talk to you about refinancing or bringing in fresh loan, all of that, they need to allow things to come to a head. So, you know, who are you arranging it with? Is he the one that is pulling out or the one staying back? And the issues that are going to have to be resolved will have to be resolved. And nobody knows how far we can go. Now, you can see that the EMTS is saying that they are laying claim on the name, that they are covered by the contract. Now, all these issues will have to unravel so that you know the extent of what you are buying, because brand is a very essential component of the negotiation. So they all have to play out before whoever is going to come to the rescue or get involved gets involved. And then of course, you remember what I said about the fiduciary issues, all the moral issues, about an adverse judge could take an adverse view of the behavior of the foreign partner to say that in 2015 you knew about the economic situation of Nigeria, and then you decided to take this loan with no intention of repaying the money. So it's not the end. Litigations might come, so it's not the end. But whoever is coming in needs to have a clearer view of where things are going before they start committing resources either way in trying to offer a rescue package or write down a loan or refinance a loan or whatever else have to be happening. So there's still a bit more time left.
All right, a bit more time left. Yes, earlier you talked about the economic implication, but the major question many are asking is that could the larger Nigerian economy afford losing a big company like Etisalat? But Professor, that would be after this break. You'd answer that question after this break. You're watching Business Nigeria. Do stay with us. You're watching Business Nigeria. We're discussing Etisalat crisis, if we put it that way. But already the Nigerian unit has commenced internal arrangements to be able to raise fresh funds for the operations. But the international arm has given the Nigerian unit 3 weeks to phase out the name, that brand name. I've been speaking with an economist, Professor Ken Ife, and also a telecoms expert, analyst, Idowu Akinde. Yes, I was talking about how the larger Nigerian economy, could the larger Nigerian economy afford losing a big company like Etisalat? Idowu, let me start with you. Let's get your opinion on that.
Sorry, is that me?
Yes, I was saying, could the larger Nigerian economy afford losing a big company like Etisalat?
Okay. Well, no, we can't afford it, but I don't think that we'll come to that. Okay. I should give a disclaimer. I'm not a certified or qualified economist, but what they just have to do is find another investor. So I think that with the amount on ground and with the kind of brand equity and followership that especially among the youth segment, I think that they can easily find another investor. That's my uninformed opinion, you know. So even though if we think about the worst case scenario, I don't think the economy will withstand such a withdrawal very well. I don't think that it will reach the point where it will not continue doing business. I think just like Celtel, Equinet, and so on and so forth. There are many times over the years, we still have loyal customers.
All right,
Professor. Very strong, and I think that people will continue to.
Okay, Ido, Professor Ken, Ido says we cannot afford to lose a large company like Etisalat. Do you share that view?
I don't think so. I don't agree. You know why? Now, the 20 million lines represents only about 12.5% of our connectivity. We have about almost 160 million lines right now. But the thing is this: many Nigerians have more than 2 phone lines anyway, mobile phones. So it doesn't present any problem if you have phones or 3 phones. If this one's not working, the other one is working. But secondly, the broadband migration is not an issue. Many people who are already using the Etisalat for their broadband would even have changed by now when they've seen all the difficulties that they're having. And many people in offices have more than one broadband connection. So it's a red herring. And to be honest with you, any one company can just absorb them. You know, MTN can absorb them, Glo can absorb them. Glo has huge broadband infrastructure. So I don't see that as any matter of contention at all.
All right, I would have to leave it at that now, but we'll definitely continue to monitor events as it unfolds as regards Etisalat crisis in Nigeria. Economist Professor Ken Ife and also Idowu Akinde, telecoms analyst. Thank you both for coming on Business Nigeria. Zonal Chairman of the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, Tokunbo Corridor, says the government needs to make all NNPC-owned depots functional before the repair works on the Apapa-Oshodi Expressway begins. Corridor explained that if the fuel distribution process is not properly handled, it might result to fuel scarcity.
We advocated and we made a passionate appeal to federal government through the minister at the briefing that the entire system 2B, they have served alternative option when we are having serious fuel scarcity. It's no longer functioning. And we plead that government should open that system 2B, that is Mosimi, all the NNPC depots, Mosimi, Ejigbo, Ibadan, Ilorin, and even Ore, to serve as an alternative for the supply of petroleum movement into the metropolis. Because if that one is not working and the little apple we are getting in Apapa is being threatened, it will snowball into a very fuel scarcity.
An attempt by smugglers to bring in contraband goods through the waterways has been thwarted by the operatives of the Western Marine Command of the Nigerian Customs Service in Lagos. Well, more than 130 bales of second-hand clothing, 400 bags of 50-kilogram parboiled rice, and about 500 cartons of frozen poultry were seized from smugglers at Ilufe in Ojo, Alaba. We'll have more with maritime correspondent Ifunanya Eze.
The area controller of the command, Mustafa Sarikin Kebi, explained that the smugglers used a big canoe to convey hundreds of bags of foreign parboiled rice through the creeks along Badagry in Lagos.
400 bags of 50 kilograms parboiled imported rice that was smuggled in from Ijofin in Ogun State. But my officers and men over there were able to apprehend the smugglers. It's a continuation of our fight against smuggling on the waters.
Showcasing the seized bales of second-hand clothing, Controller Sarikin Kebi noted that the items fall under the absolute prohibition list of the Nigeria Customs Service.
We had information 2 days prior to their reaching that they were on waters coming. So we were waiting for them. We led ambush. When they came, we allowed them to upload. It was after uploading that our officers swooped on them and they ran into the water. So we now use vehicles to evacuate these things you are seeing here.
The frozen poultry were destroyed at a customs dump site by the controller, who stated that the duty-paid value of the smuggled goods is more than 15 million naira. Ifunanya Eze, TVC News, Lagos.
The United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, wants Nigeria to support its economic interventions with the right structures. The agency's Investment and Technology Promotion Office spoke on the sidelines of Business Climate meeting.
The United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, recently established an Investment and Technology Promotion Office in Nigeria. The motive is to drive industrialization, create employment, and expand the country's non-oil production base. Small businesses are to benefit in several ways.
What we want to achieve is actually that those people will help Nigerian businesses, including SMEs. So the target is moving then to the very wide group of entrepreneurs who will eventually be B2B, business to business, meeting the potential investors.
Efforts are ongoing to give students entrepreneurship training. Setbacks to easy access to credits by businesses are also being looked into.
We would like to interact with universities, with educational sector that will help the graduates to be prepared for the business life. One of the reasons when young people and women have a problem with access to finances, that some intermediate financial institutions, they don't understand their needs. So again, the target is moving from the entrepreneurs to those who should assist them in proper way.
The Investment and Technology Promotion Office wants the Nigerian authorities to effectively play their part in making the intervention more rewarding for beneficiaries.
The government should create the enabling environment. For instance, like in Lagos State, we are working on the fashion hub and academy. Already the government has given us 10 hectares of land. There should be a school. There will be a school, there will be a structure for training.
Nigeria's Investment and Technology Promotion Office is the first of its kind in Africa. It is to also assist in achieving sustainable economic advancement in the West African sub-region. Lara Folayo, TVC News, Abuja.
Well, it's no longer news that the country cannot continue to borrow to fund its budget. But what's new is that the country will now raise money it needs by other means. That's according to the Minister of Finance at a quarterly business meeting with the private sector on Tuesday in Abuja, where she called to question planned foreign loans of $2 billion from lenders like the World Bank. The government had planned to borrow extensively from overseas to fund a record budget aimed at helping the country spend its way out of recession. But plans for lenders like the World Bank and the AFDB to loan it at least $2 billion have been stalled as international organizations' frustrations mounted due to the country's refusal to impose key fiscal reforms. In May, the Budget Office said the country has a shortfall of $7.5 billion for its 2017 budget expenditure and said it would be addressed with about $3.5 billion from the aforementioned loans and debt. Well, on that note, to wrap up Business Nigeria for today, thank you for watching. I am Yemisi Landre Ido. Join me for a more insightful and detailed analysis tomorrow. I'll leave you with the figures of the exchange rate as it stands at the moment.